Okay, I admit, I may have gone too far. So how you guys doing? Joe here, and today we're doing a really bizarre and stupid video for a very specific reason. So it'll take a minute, we'll get through it and into it. But let me tell you what this is. This is a mess. No, really what it is, it's dual GTX 690's running in Quad SLI on an Alienware R4 motherboard. So as you can see, Quad SLI's on GTX 690's. Not every board can support Quad SLI. In fact, most don't. I'm completely blown out of the water that this older one does. There are a couple of problems with it though. Number one, these slots are not 6 by 16 by 16. It's actually by 16 by 8, which means that this one's only running at half speed technically. Worse off is that they're both Gen 2 PCIe lanes. In the BIOS, it says that I can support Gen 3 PCIe. I think that's with the CPU upgrade though, because on this CPU, if I enabled the Gen 3 support, it actually completely stops the computer from posting. So, also, in case you didn't notice it from the original scene, yeah, that is another power supply sitting there. I had no choice, I had to do it because I didn't want to try to run two 690's off of an 850 power supply, although it probably would run fine. I just didn't want to run the risk. Let's see here. In terms of scaling, it scales really well when it works. Hey, all right, it's actually running. So as you can see, all 4 graphics cards are working, and they're working in SLI, and you're getting about 60-70 frames per second. Now, if you also notice inside the case here, the way this card is sitting is because I'm using a PCI extension cable for the second graphics card, because the second graphics card would be too close to the first one for my SLI bridge to work correctly, plus it would literally choke the top card, and I didn't want to do that. I want to give it as much chance to run as it can. The soft SLI bridge is a godsend in this particular instance. The other thing you may or may not have noticed is that I have the video cable in the second card, technically the bottom card, and that's because on this motherboard with SLI enabled, it will only display video out of the bottom card for some reason. Again, it could be something going wrong with the motherboard, and I'm not sure. I do apologize for filming directly off my screen, but I don't want to take a chance of trying to record right now because it's actually running well. And as you can see, it's running pretty smooth with all 4 GPUs enabled. Compared to how it would be running on a single 690 or even a single 680, I think it's pretty impressive. It's definitely faster than my 980 is. So it's the next day. I've been reloading my operating system onto my hard drive because beware evil viruses. And I got one and it was affecting all my downloads, so I killed the entire operating system and my backup hard drives after saving the files I knew I needed, and I wiped everything. So I've been spending the last 11 hours just reloading everything onto my system. So I have gotten it to run CSGO without crashing for a couple of hours, and in that game it's averaging about 190 FPS, which sounds like a lot, but if you consider the GTX 980, which is actually the main card in my system, the GTX 980 will push an average of 220 FPS. So scaling is definitely not as good as one would hope, because I'm sure that a single 680, because I used to run it with the 670 and it would run in the 100 FPS range. So to add 4 680s and only get up to 170 to 180 FPS is kind of bull cookies in my opinion. Now in Firestrike it was returning about 90 FPS, anywhere from 80 to 90 FPS during the test. I have yet to get it to actually complete a test, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is there. So after a lot of research and a lot of testing and a lot of speculation, I figured out that these things are PCIe 3 natively, so installing them on a board that's PCIe 2 doesn't really work very well, and that was causing issues. So basically what it was doing was it was asking the GPU to do more, but it couldn't do it because it was limited by the PCIe slots, and that caused it to crash. So yeah, I guess the conclusion is, do you really want to run Quad SLI nowadays anyways? No, because barely anything ever supports it. Everybody wants to go to a more powerful single GPU solution, and I do too. In fact, I totally get why you would. There's no reason to be running 3-way or 4-way SLI unless you're trying to break some kind of benchmark record, or you want to play Tomb Raider, which seems to be one of the games that scales the best. Other than that, there's no point to more than 2-card SLI, and there really isn't even much call for a 2-card SLI unless you get them dirt cheap like these were. Now, I'm just a 1080p gamer. I don't have a 4K monitor, I don't care to, I don't need the extra expense, especially when I don't even honestly play that many games, and the games I do play, I enjoy at 1080p. So I'm fine running a superclocked 980, and I'm probably gonna get rid of that one and get a TI from the same guy I got all these from. But in general, I don't require a 1080 Ti, I don't require a Titan Volta, I don't need anything like that. In fact, when I had my 1080 Ti, it just sat as kind of like a centerpiece on the P5 case when I had it, and I actually sold it to a friend for his 1070. You know, I traded him and he gave me some cash in a 1070. So I know I don't need a 1080 Ti or a 1080 or a Titan, so I'm not going to worry about it. To everybody that saw the Twitters and you guys responded, awesome, thank you guys so much. One thing I will say, it's really nice when a YouTuber, especially bigger YouTubers, will respond to your tweets. It makes you feel good about yourself. I know it sounds really weird, but when somebody that's been doing this for their living and is a professional and knows exactly what's going on compliments you or thinks something you did was funny, I take that as a compliment. So to all those Twitterers, thank you. That's about it for this video. Obviously I don't have a lot of numbers, and that's because these cards kept crashing on this motherboard. I do have another motherboard coming that maybe I can run them on, and we'll see. But for now, that's how it is. So maybe we'll do an update when I get a couple more cards. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. If you'd like to become a Patreon, do that up there. If you want to see another video, click over here. I'll put something up here. And I'm going to be doing a video on the 980 as well as the 960. So I guess until next time, I'll talk to you later.